Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together we are minting coins. Talking about a lot of different things today. We might be talking about Unisoc socks. We might be talking about the future of, ENS and ads and type in traffic and Web3. But we're also going to be talking about the over $200 million that is going to be set for infrastructure into Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador. As well as Putin's call in Russia for a blockchain-based international payment system. We have that and a whole lot more that we're going to be talking about. We have a lot of good people to talk about it with us. One of those people is Satoshi test account .eth Dylan. Hey, welcome to the show. Do you want to give us your idea? What is your name and who are you?
Yeah, so I got a good pseudo name here. Yeah, Satoshi.testaccount.eth. That's what I go by via ENS handle, right? And originally, I had not planned to go by this, but I just done it as kind of just a, no one was really doing subdomains at the time. We knew that was possible, but I was like, look, you can just make any kind of subdomain you want. Hey, I got a test account here, right? As an example, Satoshi.testaccount. And here it is. People could verify it, it was real, I was using it, etc. And it's just kind of stuck. But for a while I had, the diamond emoji Dylan.eth. But in 2017 and 2018, I had the chance to get Dylan.eth and I did not. I was like, I knew about .coms and all that and everything. And I seen .eth and I was like, okay, well, reading into it, I seen you had to do the auction style and everything like that. And I was like, look, it's a lot. I was like, I need my crypto in the wallet. I'm not using it for nothing but investment wise, right? And I was more used to at that time, even Litecoin was worth more if I remember correctly. So I had more, I was more looking at Bitcoin and Litecoin than Ethereum. And then from there, when I seen that, okay, well, this is what blew my mind. 2018 or so, the guy that is the lead of the Xbox Game Pass is also named Dylan. And he got Dylan.eth because he knew he's in Microsoft and all that. And he knew about this decentralized naming platform. And he was referencing himself and Microsoft. This guy from the Game Pass was referencing how this is similar to, gamer tags, he sees on a daily basis. And I was like, oh, hell. I said, he got my name. I was like, well, now what? And I said, now he got my name. So I was sitting there mad thinking about it. I know more about Ethereum than him. So I was like, well, now I got to look into it. So I did some research and that's when I started going crazy. I started getting a bunch. And, at that point, there's not there's some good ones out there, of course, but at that time, there's more of a community per se. The DAO was really built out. There was a UI interface at this point. So I was able to go through there and register my names like it was, GoDaddy almost. And here we are today. But my name's Dylan, of course, but this handle here, test account, is what I'm really sticking to. And, we can elaborate on there from the subdomain aspect, but that is my long-term vision since day one. So after seeing Dylan.eth, I started looking into things and found my whole name, .eth, right? And I got my last name, luckily. And I said, okay, well, I said, what I already knew about subdomains. And I said, well, I can make subdomains. So I knew Dylan.meta.eth. And that's how I found Brantley. Brantley was actually hosting spaces all the time at the time. And I came in there, started listening, and he was talking about subdomains tagging down to the nuts and bolts on your car door and your car door having that .eth, etc. I was like, all right, well, that's a bit extreme, but I'm with you there, man. That's how I got Dylan, right? Dylan.meta.eth via that tag system. So just call it, I have the full name, of course. And for a while when Elon was cracking down on them accounts, I went by that on my Twitter. I was like, don't shut me down because I got Satoshi in my name here. And then after he was like, it's okay to have pseudonyms, we're cool with that, I put it back. But that's what, I'm going by both, I guess, till I get Dylan. And here's what the crazy thing is. He sold that. But if you look, the only thing Dylan.eth has in that wallet is that one name. This is the reverse resolver. That's it. No activity, nothing but that one thing now. So I don't know what to think. But so I don't go by Dylan. He can have it. He took my name.
Well, there's a possibility one day. Don't ever say never. But
2027. I know the year.
yeah, I mean, things might change. You might be able to put a bid. You might be able to put a bid.
There's a bunch on them. A bunch of other Dylans are gunning for it too. But here's the thing: I got the last name right, and see, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, the last name is definitely key, right?
Yep.
In the world of having to get those names. Very cool. Well, listen, like I still have hope, and testaccount.eth is pretty spectacular. Speaking of spectacular, Ada.eth. Hey, what is your how do we pronounce your name, or who are you, and what's going on?
Hey everyone, I'm Ada.eth. Short and simple, I work with Gary behind the scenes a lot. This is, I think, my second show, but I love it so much that I keep coming back. And I also do a lot of work on Web3 domains, managing all the writers, making sure that everybody has access to all the information in one place. Building community, I mean, that's really what it's like. Building community, building in a Web3. I often say, we're going to build a lot, we're going to fail a lot, but in the process, we're going to learn a lot. And that's really the only path we're going to succeed. So here I am, Ada.eth.
Cool. And Twitter, your Unfolded Life.
Yes.
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 And
I'm actually Unfolded Life everywhere.
Yes. As life is unfolding.
As life is unfolding, yes.
And 184.eth. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. I'm going to keep the theme. I also don't have my first name because someone with a bunch of punks owns it, so I'll never get it, but I have my last name. That's me.
Last names are good. Last names are very strong. And I think if you had a pick, I think that we can all agree that we would rather have our last name if we had to pick our last name. But there's a lot to consider, and there's a lot to think about because things are going to change. And as things are going to change, we're going to be talking about it. And so thanks for showing up, everybody. We're going to be getting into a lot of interesting things today. But in the meantime, before we get started with the show, I'm encouraging you to, check us out on YouTube, check us out on Twitter, subscribe to this channel, like this video, comment and engage. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the channel, the engagement, the subscribing, hit the bell icon notification, like this video, comment. And it goes a long way. If you wanted to take a step further, then visit us at mintingcoins.com. That's mintingcoins.com, where we're all minting coins, and be a member. Join our member circle, and get access to our members only content, our members only forums, our members only videos. And by supporting us, by supporting the show, you're helping us create content in Web3, and helping us, highlight other people who are building as well. And so that is awesome. That is wonderful. And thank you for that. So to get into it, probably jump into the first topic. Yeah, so I don't know how much you guys know about this, but there's a country called El Salvador, which I'm sure you know. And El Salvador has been purchasing a lot of Bitcoin, which maybe you do or do not know. And then an even finer detail is that there's a place called Bitcoin Beach, which is supposed to be great, but it's, lacking a little bit only because the amount of people who are increasing in the area and the toll that's taking on the infrastructure. Well, what's going to be happening is that they're going to be receiving this $200 million in infrastructure investments, right? $200 million going into to expand the highways, to improve the hydraulic concrete, the asphalt, the sand, the surf, this gets into the very basics of it. But this is a major area that they're renovating because all these new Bitcoin people are going to hang out there. And this whole area that the president is talking about fixing, 15,000 square meters, where there's going to be shopping centers, parking, a beach club, treatment plant, revitalizing the area to support, and supporting the facilities. It seems like the roads are a big portion of this, but I'm sure in there's like also increasing the water supply, increasing, sewage treatment, increasing water treatment. And it's really interesting, right? Because as someone myself who's really into ENS and has been paying, very close attention to ENS and some of the thought leaders in that space, I'm thinking about the network state. And I'm thinking about the network citizen. And I'm thinking about, we have digital money, we have digital identity. And while we do have digital land, we still need physical places. And this isn't just about El Salvador. This isn't just about Bitcoin Beach. This is about the idea that there's going to be physical land all over the world. As some countries are saying, Bitcoin is illegal, mining is illegal, digital currencies or tokens are illegal or restricted. As there's many countries that are going to start, with that posturing of saying what's illegal and what you can't do, there's going to be a lot of other places in the world opening up, catering to people with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, with digital sovereignty, with digital identity, with digital payments, with digital access to digital clubs, with, non-fungible blockchain NFTs. And I think this headline is just like indicative of what's to come with, let's just call it out, El Salvador being a leader in terms of like where nation states meet cryptocurrency. So kind of like from that sort of context of places like this opening up all over the world and possibly El Salvador leading the way. And they got the Bitcoin volcano mines, and we're not going to be going into that too much today. But Satoshi, Dylan, what do you think about this?
They for people that have the coins and whatnot, they a lot of times really don't have really anywhere to use them per se. If you say, okay, well, not only can you use them, here are other use cases of other Bitcoiners using them. And if you can provide that anonymity and security in that sense, and you say, yes, this is not only a secure experience, but fun and everything of that nature, you'll get a lot of people that haven't left the basement per se since 2009. They haven't really been out. They're still in the woods. They want to come out. People want, you're going to have to flush these people out to get their Bitcoins. They're going to think it's a trap. They're going to say, this is a trap. They're not going to go. And then you're going to have the locals there saying, where are the Bitcoiners? Well, they're there digitally per se, right? You're going to see more so. You're going to have to influence not just into the metaverse, but via non-fungible tokens and whatnot, access to real things via NFTs. So when you get a pass or whatnot, that pass is what you use to sign a physical prompt, kind of like an Airbnb lock that lets you into a zone or access another compartment or something of that nature. Because we're seeing physical access control based signatures utilizing ENS. So it's not far-fetched to see some kind of Morales based application that interacts with a physical lock that restricts access to a physical club of any sort. You're seeing clubs already pop up within ENS. So Bitcoin is just another chain. So it's like, someone could import something of El Salvador's, TLD to ENS, and then they utilize that to issue all of their people, an identifier, a DID, and then airdrop them a government created, issued NFT, kind of like a passport. And that passport grants them access upon signature at the gate. If they had the wallet, kind of like a passport book, and that signature is like a stamp. They have to cross sign that signature to verify, here we are at the door, the gate per se, when they fly in, wherever the Bitcoiner flies into. They got to have that NFT in their wallet when they're prompted for that signature to continue forward, or they'll get turned around. It can be as simple as that. But how do you get a Bitcoiner to bring their wallet on a plane across from wherever they are to the Bitcoin beach? It just sounds too good.
It does seem like a giant, I mean, of course, right? It does seem like, and it also seems like, yeah, a little bit dangerous having all these people, right? Instead of going to a city and finding one person, you could just go to a city and like get everybody. But yeah, I mean that, and that's just a natural question of like, how does like, how do we look at security in the world in the future, right? With Web3, there's billionaires that walk around, right? And they're like, whatever, what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You're going to like kidnap me and you're going to like beat me up. And, it's like, they like most, like, they don't like have that readily access. Right. And it's just, with the crypto, it's like, I don't know. It's like personally, I mean, I don't have like normal security practices, right? Like it's really hard, to access funds, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, like I'm purposely set up, right, from like a cypherpunk perspective. And so it's just those best practices that maybe you have and that maybe I have are not maybe common now, but they're going to be more common in the future. And yeah, security is always going to be a very interesting concept. But, before NFTs, there was the concept of the Citadel, creating like, what would you think of it? Like a castle, a community with a gated wall and security, and somehow they have like lots of food and clean water and good entertainment.
Yeah.
And you got to have like one Bitcoin or one Ethereum to get in.
Yeah. At all times, right? I mean, how do you know what I mean? It's like once you pull it down, how do they regenerate that coin per se, right? It's always like regeneration and staying in that sustainability of that ecosystem. Who then holds all the coins at the end? It's like, oh, we got you. Carnival's over, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. If anything, yield farming, if you think about the yield farming fiascos of everybody, right? FTX or Luna, or just like there's everything. If you think about all these yield farming fiascos, and you think, okay, there's gonna be a Citadel and there's gonna be 1,000 people and they all need to bring one Bitcoin and they're gonna take that 1,000 Bitcoin, are gonna yield farm it.
Yeah.
And then like they over leverage and another city liquidates, the city that you happen to be in. And now you're like homeless because your city just got liquidated and taken over.
They liquidated your neighborhood.
your whole Citadel. Yeah.
Your whole Citadel is liquidated. And that's tragic.
So that you see what I'm saying? That'd be like really interesting from like a dystopian financial perspective.
Tower
like instead of bombing wars, you just like financially attack it, because every city will be a financial vehicle.
Unreal.
Yeah, because I mean, just to touch upon it, do you guys know, like 184, do you or Satoshi or whoever, do you guys know about the volcano bonds? How they're going to be?
Bond. They're going to use them to mine the Bitcoin,
the volcano to create hydro steam.
Yeah, power.
And then the steam will be the generator for the power for the miner systems. And it's like sort of.
If you would have told me this shit 10 years ago, I would have thought you were smoking coke. Not even 10 years, 12, 10 years, 9 years. I would have been like, you're lying to me. That orange coin.
Don't smoke that.
I say that orange coin, you have done lost your mind. If you're telling me that the president of El Salvador has a volcano, and he's going to an active
the volcano does push it over the edge.
An active volcano that he's selling bonds for to mine the Bitcoin. I used to mine it off of Vista, Ubuntu, dual booted. I'm saying this little thing, it was hot as a volcano. It get hot as a volcano. But I sure
Yeah.
wasn't generating steam off it.
I mean, I think that this is one of those things, even from like 2013 to now. I mean, we have seen such an incredible, growth, like exponential growth in how, Bitcoin and Ethereum and just all the technologies are getting adopted. And so I think it's kind of perfect because if you wait until all the structure is in place, right, then you have to take all this time to then sort of build a place where all that technology can be used. I think in this case, they're sort of building a place, and yes, the infrastructure isn't there to kind of create a place where everybody can accept, crypto or Bitcoin, and figured out like how that makes it to the right places, like this goes to this vendor and this goes to this vendor, and how does it all get processed? Like, we don't have this yet. But I mean, it was within our lifetime that ATM machines weren't everywhere. And so, when we think, I feel about technology is it's moving really, really quickly. And, this idea of creating sort of communities, and in Web3 space, right? We've been talking a lot about token gating and creating these token gated communities. I mean, I think as humanity, like, we've always craved to be in places with our own kind, like, whatever that is. Like, if you're into movies, you want to hang out and be like with movies geeks, right? If you play Dungeons and Dragons, like, you go and you do a game, a campaign with the people who are playing. Like, you're not doing it somewhere where there's like a whole bunch of people kind of moving through asking questions, right? You have a dedicated group. And so I think it's the same way, we have seen it with NFTs, right? It's like anybody who holds an NFT can get into this party, and then you're there with your kind of people. And we have seen kind of, beginnings of that with, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like Anarchapulco, but that was like the first conference back in 2016 that like brought all the people from like the basement, right? Like from the depths of the dungeons. It brought all the degens together and was like, wow, there are other people like us. And, and they didn't have structure in place. Like, they were kind of, I think first year they didn't. The second year they were able to secure and bring in some, Bitcoin ATM machines. I mean, we're kind of pulling it by the technology that we have, and we're sort of repurposing it to have to sort of do what we want it to do. Meanwhile, like I always say, like in the background, everybody's building. So what we're talking about, like the technology is already being built. It just takes time to like build all that together. But it's like, when they're ready to enroll it, then there's a place where you can go and you can test it. So I think it's, it seems early and crazy, but I mean, is it really? Like, is it crazy to say that in like 5 years, it's all going to be like perfectly seamless? Like, you can go and transact with anyone, anywhere, and it's all going to be secure, and we're not going to have any of these sort of like, how is it going to work? Like, how are we going to patch it together? Like, it's just going to be a beautiful, seamless system because, I mean, the blockchain is made for this. We just have to create like the underpinnings, like the underlying technology to kind of like fit it all together. So, that's what I think. I mean, we want to be with our own kind.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And so El Salvador is offering some pretty good incentives if you want to go live there and reside there from a taxation perspective. But, who's doing that when you can go to other places that are perhaps a little bit more safe? You kind of always want to trade up. But you've hit the nail on the head in that people are going there for their community for a short amount of time. I've met people at barbecues that do, 3 months in Argentina to leave the European winter. To be with their own people, going to El Salvador is just as good. So they're doing this from a tourism point of view, and they're making tourism money. And to go to exactly that kind of singular place where you get to play with that technology, pretty much everything that you've said, this is the right move. And it is a stepstone to the future where it's in more places. I mean, Australians go to Bali. Lots of people go to Bali and Thailand, and they do those trips, and they live for short periods of time, and they what do you call it? They adjust to whatever that normal custom is or that way of living. It may not be what they do all of the year, but they do it for part of the year. And this is just something to attract people. And you're going to have people that go there for holidays, people that go there for networking. Eventually, you'll find events will be held there. And I'm sure El Salvador is doing the right thing, which is paying for security. You know, they don't want this to backfire. So they've got a lot to do in their country, but I'm sure they're securing this. And I'm not that concerned if I'm going to go there for a month or 2 months. I'm not going to be loading myself up with everything that I own. That would be stupid. So I think people going there are intelligent. And if they're not, well, those people exist all over the world.
Bitcoin timeshares. Sounds great. It makes sense. I mean, that's what you would want. Yeah, when you said 2-3 months out of the year, oh yeah, that's it. They just got to create that resort, Bitcoin resort, Bitcoin island. You own it 2 months out of the year, 1 Bitcoin a night, whatever, a month, whatever. They'll figure out a rate. Just set them all up. Only accept Bitcoin. I mean, I seen this was like a sign from LA I found in my album from like 2015. It said it was like land. It was like 10 Bitcoin for this property. They're taking, land for Bitcoin. So I could see not only that, like it's gonna be like, North Carolina style, right? There's gonna be all this beachfront style property, and yeah, you're gonna be able to get your little resort for a Bitcoin or two, but there might be like a 20, 30, 40, 50 Bitcoin type deals that go down that might just be government based deals. There might be a dude that, talks to the officials and whatnot, and they say, hey, like you say, someone comes in and wants to do some actual development that says, hey, we have a fund, who knows, a DAO even, hell, wouldn't that be crazy? Bitcoin DAO comes up and they say, we got some money, we need to do some development here, we just want to buy a couple acres, and they do it all DeFi style, 1-to-1. And like that was a good point you had about the vendor situation coming up, about how do we know who's getting paid when there's a payment. I mean, they assigned wallets to individuals and whatnot, and there was even identity fraud going on. People, they were giving their citizens money when they got their wallet for signing up, but there was identity fraud going on. People were using stolen identities to register fake wallets and so on and so forth. But as long as they have a good system, kind of like the Square style systems that kind of just know those, even like smart contract style that facilitate those kind of transactions in a transparent style, kind of like how POS software works in general. If they're just relying on like QR codes and whatnot, oh man, I can see it now. Someone comes up, slaps on another similar QR that's, to a different address, who would know? The cashier just won't see. It's like a skimmer, you see. So I can see skimming happening maliciously, just like ATM skimmer, but just with the sticker. So there's kind of a lot of worries in that sense. But Bitcoin ATMs, I haven't seen a lot of problems with them. I've seen them everywhere. Seen a lot of different styles of them. So I don't know if they'll come out with maybe a government standard in a sense to where it's tied to their reserve, perhaps, and you can go there and 1-to-1, kind of like a gold reserve. If that happens, I don't know. The U.S. might, go to war with them if that happens, right? The government don't really like that sometimes when you allow
only 100% chance.
Yeah, that kind of conversion, but
99.9.
I mean, it'd be streamlined.
That's some good after show talk right there. Let me tell you.
Yeah, that's some good conversion.
What happens when there's a competing currency to the U.S. dollar?
And you accept it for conversion, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
The on ramp's always been the thing.
Well, holy shit! You're gonna love the next story coming up after this. But before we get into it, Lola Dog. I don't know if Lola Dog lives in El Salvador, but Lola Dog says that they hate to be a buzzkill, but Bitcoin is failing in El Salvador. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I mean, people can, Bitcoiners say Ethereum is failing. You know what I mean? It's like someone says something. I don't know what failing means. I mean, Bitcoin hit $69,420 and then it double topped, and we've been falling into this through this bear market since the 69,420 number. And that's been a bad look for everybody who's been in the Bitcoin, right? That's a bad look for MicroStrategies and Michael Saylor. They are down like over $1 billion. Bad luck. They're still buying Bitcoin. El Salvador is down, and they have debts coming up, and not everyone is accepting it, and they're having huge problems. And even I think some of the Bitcoiners are recognizing, like issues with the Lightning Network, because the Lightning Network is like cool maybe, but definitely not working to the level that is being advertised, let alone the level that it should. Also the Lightning Network, it's because I'm like actually watching videos of people using it. So Lola Dog saying, see the videos in the thread and judge for yourself. I've seen some of those threads from like some Bitcoin only people who are traveling across El Salvador, paying in Litecoin, or I'm sorry, paying in Lightning Network, or paying in Bitcoin. And they're definitely having some issues with people understanding the system and using the system. Still though, it doesn't mean like, I'm a little more like nuanced. So just because it's having major issues, I know it's kind of funny, right? Just because it's having major issues doesn't mean that it failed. Can we agree? Like, something's not dead until it's dead, right? Like, you can't count something, especially in cryptocurrency, where what's dead can never die. It's we have a long. I mean, people said the internet failed, right? Remember when? I mean, we talk about this all the time. When images are loading line by line, right? That then someone was like, "Oh, the internet failed."
Yeah, they were saying this is a fad. It'll never catch on.
I think we often forget to say that this still is a new technology. Even though it has been in development. I mean, when we say 2013, I mean that's really the very, very, very beginnings, right? Like, I mean, this is where we talk about the Bitcoin, white paper being created. I mean, it's so early. Like, it really wasn't until
Bitcoin white paper is 2008.
2008, sorry, yeah. So
and then it was launched in 2009.
That's right. Sorry.
But then it got a market price in 2012, 2013. Like that. That's
it was like that's like really the first time that we've been that's been noticed. But it's still a fairly new technology, and because I think it's a threat to our entire existing system. And I always say, I mean, all the countries, right, all the financial systems that we currently have in place aren't just going to be like, yeah, sure, we're just going to step back and you degens just go in and take over the world. It has to be incorporated into, what we currently have in place. And so I always say, there's this piece that I say, it's like, I am here for the revolution. But it's really, I'm here for the evolution, because we need to see how the adoption curve is going to happen. And we're still very, very early. I mean, most people, even most business owners, they're like, oh yeah, I heard about it on the news, but they're not really using it, and they're very far from even being interested. And so we're looking at it from the point of view of sort of technology and what we can currently do with technology. But I mean, this is the case of like, we are going to fail so many times until we figure out how to scale it, until we figure out the Lightning Network, until we figured out how to get more people onboarded without crashing the system, right? Over and over, we see like the system crashes if we have a lot of people using it. So there's so many pieces that we haven't yet solved. And yet we are seeing that more and more governments and technologists and people that are actually, kind of have a pulse of sort of what's happening and where the world is going, they have been taking notice for a very long time. So it's like, even though we might think, oh, this is really slow, like I don't actually think it's slow at all. Like I think that we are getting to where we need to get. It's just going to take some time until it is integrated without completely crashing, our system. Because otherwise, like everything that we know about, currency and sort of infrastructure would just totally collapse.
Currency, identity, all of that stuff. Yeah, 184. You want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so playing devil's advocate, so BTC is failing in El Salvador. Let's take the angle of the rollout of BTC for all citizens has not been as effective within a certain time frame. That's probably a reasonable statement. But to all the points that have been said before, just as Bitcoin, Ethereum, ENS, it's not a done deal. Like the job's not done yet. It's the same with Bitcoin. It's the same with the rollout. So whilst there will be some failures and there's things to do in El Salvador, it's not a done deal. It's not dead. So all those metrics matter, but they are doing some things really well. And to that Bitcoin beach, these are people that are coming in that are already educated, and they're using that infrastructure that's being built and already there, and it's working for them. And the government said that part is working, so we're gonna keep supporting that. As for the Bitcoin for all citizens, the Lightning Network, or the money that was given to everybody, and everyone's got their own national wallet, that stuff still needs work. But that's a big job. That is a big job. So little stepstones. And to one of the points, Ada, you mentioned, you don't think it's very slow. I agree. It's incredibly fast. It's incredibly fast, especially for some things that used to take days and weeks. And that is the global kind of payment systems and those transactions that occur cross country. Those things have gone from weeks to days to 10-minute average blocks or 12-second Ethereum blocks. So these are miraculous things. And with layer 2s, we have in the seconds. We have near instant. So we're coming a long way, and this is exceptionally fast from where we were. And yeah, it's just got to scale, and that takes time.
It takes time. Yeah, you guys are right. It takes time, and you guys are talking about this from a technical perspective. The technology needs to scale, the code needs to scale. You guys are talking about this from a legal perspective, a cultural perspective. It takes time for people to get wrapped their heads around something new like the internet or PayPal or blockchain, let alone for a whole country to adopt this. Like Ada, in what you were just saying, you called out it from a country perspective, and then 184 like alluding to that just now. And things might be happening faster than we're giving it credit for. We know on this show, we've talked about Russia a lot over the past few years, 2016, 2017, 2018. We did a lot of videos on Russia and Putin. I know Putin loves blockchain. He is a little bit of a degen. And he needs to balance, the degen side of his brain with the whole president of Russia side of his brain. And he knows that there needs to be balance with the banks and the financial system and making sure money stays in control so the country doesn't, ravel out of control too quickly in the hands of the people that own Bitcoin. And governments want to, if a government, let me say it like this. If a government wanted to adopt Bitcoin, and this is some alpha, the government would accumulate Bitcoin before they announced an adoption. Okay. This is what happened with gold. Let me just zoom out of here. This is what happened with gold. So they made gold, I forget, what was it, executive order, 10010, whatever it was, in 19, 23 or 12 or whatever. I get it all mixed up a little bit, but the basics is that they made it so gold was no longer legal for someone to own independently. They had to take their gold and give it to the bank and it was no longer legal to hold gold. And then after that, they did a gold-backed reserve currency, which immediately jumped the price of gold. So the government like collected all this gold and then based the currency off of it. And what's really interesting is that the United States government has, through criminal investigations, they've accumulated. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know if anyone can fact check this in the background, but I think the government has accumulated like 200,000 or 300,000 Bitcoin. They haven't been auctioning it off as quickly.
There's like 50,000 claimed from a guy in Georgia just the last 2-3 weeks ago. They claimed there's a guy that it was in the bottom of a popcorn tin on a motherboard, in the bottom of a popcorn tin under some blankets in his closet. Guy in Georgia. It was from the Silk Road.
So the government has hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, and governments around the world are recognizing this as a potential threat, an attack vector. This is an attack vector. This is a Rick and Morty level of attack. And so with that, we know Putin's into it. And then we've been seeing this go back and forth for a long time, but the recent news just came out today, at least from what I've seen, is that Putin has been called for a blockchain-based international payment system. And he's doing this because he's criticizing Western sanctions and urged for a new system which is independent, right? Independent of external interfaces. He wants it to be blockchain based because he's saying basically they want a system with no middlemen. They want no middlemen in the system. And so he criticized the monopoly in global financial payments, called for an independent blockchain based settlement network. Did this on November 24th, which was a couple days ago. What was that, on Thursday? At a conference in Moscow. During the event organized, largest bank, major lender, Putin said, the technology of digital currencies and blockchains can be used to create a new system of international settlements that will be much more convenient, absolutely safe for its users, and most importantly, will not depend on banks or interference by third parties. So he's at a conference put on by the largest bank in Russia and a major lender to the government, right? As a conference put on by the banks, and he's saying we're going to have a digital currency that is not dependent on the banks. And he's confident something like this will certainly be created and be developed. And why? Because nobody likes the dictators or the monopolistic dictators. And he's saying that monopolistic dictators are harming all parties, including the monopolies themselves. So, I mean, this is something that the United States probably wouldn't look upon kindly. But what do you think, Ada? Is this when you say the countries aren't? What did you say about the countries exactly? And now we have Putin calling for an independent blockchain-based settlement currency.
I mean, yeah, not to get too much, down sort of the political rabbit hole, which this invites, right? The monetary system, especially the U.S. monetary system, has been used for quite some time to exert control over other countries, especially when it comes to especially when it comes to trade. And and so on and so forth. And we have definitely have seen this with the U.S. and Russia. And as somebody who grew up in Poland during the Soviet regime back in the 80s and 90s, we have definitely seen those type of controls, and they usually never end up good for the people. So the idealist and the revolutionary in me, right, wants to have a central system that isn't controlled by by the banks, right? Or isn't controlled by somebody that has interest in one thing or another. So that's really the idealistic part. And I've been talking for very long time that blockchain is really set up because it is very transparent, and the technology is already there for I mean, I call it like everybody can sit around the table and you kind of know who everybody that you are collaborating with, like you know what they're doing because it's all in a blockchain. And we have really never had that level of transparency. I mean, governments are anything but transparent, right? Like they say one thing, they do another thing. We have seen it from the very, very beginning with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is a scam. I mean, some of the biggest investors, right? Bitcoin is a scam, like it's Ponzi scheme. It's while on the back they were accumulating Bitcoin, and 5 years later, 10 years later, then they come out and say, yeah, like this is a great technology. So we had seen this push and pull play for a very long time. Like I said, idealist in me would love to have it happen because I think it would solve so many of our problems. And I mean, imagine where we would be if we wouldn't have these means of control. It would actually mean that everybody has to come to the table and actually have a conversation and collaborate, right? And that's really at the heart of like what we want to see in the world, right? Like we don't want this push and pull around control. We want to see leaders of the countries actually sitting down and talking and collaborating. It's very hard to imagine how this piece wouldn't be exploited. And it's very interesting because
Depends on the system, like which system,
blockchain, right? Like, yes. And so I love to just kind of sit back and watch and see how this plays out, especially in the political arena, because it has so many applications. When we look, I mean, into like donors, into political parties and elections, and I mean, all of that, if we pull that on the blockchain, right, like it solves so many problems. But who's going to give up that kind of control? I mean, that's like really my big like.
That's right. That's right. I know the transparency. I mean, the transparency of it is great. Corruption, avoiding corruption. Oh man, it just solves it. I know I say the same thing so much. You're not crazy, by the way. You might be like, "Am I crazy?" You'd be looking at it. You'd be like, "Look, you can run your own test, even right." And you'd be like, "Look, you can do your own polls. You can simulate, watch simulations of it happening, and even watch it sometimes." And then you're like, "Okay, well, that was great. We all voted on what duck hat to get in our DAO using the blockchain, right? Do something silly like that." And you're like, well, you telling me they could use this in a nation state to stop corruption and do transparent voting at the same time? Yes, it's just use cases. So we all need a use case, and the blockchain has many.
Lola Dog back in the comments over here says the U.S. government is the third largest holder of BTC, only behind Grayscale and MicroStrategy. Expect them to hold another auction in the coming months, around 50 million, based on a recent seizure. Well, we have this chart here that comes from finbold.com, Jordan Major, February 9th, 2022, about 6 months ago or so. So the U.S. government has normally maintained a side business to auction off Bitcoin. Nevertheless, they have about $4 billion in Bitcoin. These are kind of old numbers, whatever it was back in the time of this, but just like Lola Dog said, we have at this time, right, from Glassnode. So Glassnode is a trusted source. Almost $28 billion for Grayscale GBTC. Then we have 5.5 rounded up for MicroStrategies, or strategy. Yeah, 4 billion. Ukraine has 2 billion. Huh. That's interesting. It's a lot of Bitcoin for. It's not. It's kind of like a small country, isn't it? Ukraine. Yeah, it's not like a major country, and they have half as much Bitcoin as the United States. That's interesting. Why would they back in?
Oh, a lot of the Bitcoin miners are in Ukraine. There's a lot of Bitcoin miners there.
Okay. Yeah,
But
but I
it's
mean, so the Russia. I mean, Russia too, and there's a lot of Bitcoin miners in China. I don't see like any other countries on this list. That's a lot of Bitcoin. You know, they like, you know, United States and Ukraine are the two largest countries and holders of Bitcoin, more than Tesla and Square and everything else.
And just talking Ukraine, I'm fairly certain earlier in the week there was a case of Ukraine was holding some of their crypto in FTX, so they might have a little bit less if that's correct.
Yeah,
Unless they
you're right.
spent the money by now.
Yeah, they were converting it. I think, I don't know. There was some. I know that a lot of the donations were being converted pretty rapidly.
Yeah, so I guess going back to this article, you know, Putin's just talking about global payments, nations being at risk due to the tensions, you know, between everything happening, you know, politically, and these sanctions are being imposed on different countries, and I guess he's framing them as being illegitimate restrictions, and saying that the existing system of international payments is expensive and you know, regulated, controlled by a narrow group of people. And lawmakers in Russia have been in discussions creating amendments to the existing cryptocurrency legislation in Russia, laying down legal frameworks for a national exchange in Russia. And then another recent development that happened about 10 days ago is that a bill was introduced in Russia in their, you know, form of parliament, legalizing cryptocurrency mining and the sale of cryptocurrency that has been mined. Coincidentally, this week in New York State, which there's usually like 3 places you can't do business with cryptocurrency stuff. One of those places is Iran. Another place where you can't do a lot of cryptocurrency stuff is North Korea. You know, that's why Virgil's in prison. And then a third place that's really horrible to do cryptocurrency stuff is New York State. And New York State this week, they made it more illegal to mine and participate in cryptocurrency mining. But in Russia, they're making it, working to make it more legal. And then they're saying, you know, yeah, if we pass all these laws making cryptocurrency legal, then this activity is going to be done more legally. It's not rocket scientist when you say it out loud. And then they're going to just be able to regulate it better and just but the big news here is that they want to have an independent blockchain system that's independent of the banks and independent of the countries and independent of the centralized, you know, players. And they're all going to need a decentralized identity. And that decentralized identity is going to be ENS. Because it's not controlled by, you know, the same reason why, you know, like Putin saying they want a international payment system, blockchain based, not controlled by the banks, not controlled by third parties. You got to have a naming system the same way. It's not controlled by third parties, not controlled by the countries, not controlled by anybody.
I mean, I think what Putin realizes, you know, and I'm always like wondering where the US is in this play, but what he realizes is that the more Bitcoin he brings into this country, the more, the more power Russia will have in the future. You know, and this is, I mean, this is, really, really, really simple, is that whichever direction we will go, cryptocurrency is going to be part of that future. Like, we don't exactly know how, and I would guarantee that, Bitcoin will always play a part. And, most likely, I think it probably will be like gold because
No guarantees, not financial advice.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't listen to what I say. But, it doesn't have like the uniqueness with Bitcoin is, it doesn't have the like the overseeing person or structure or anybody behind it. And even though every cryptocurrency that have come after Bitcoin, in some way they wanted to model that, but I mean, Ethereum has Vitalik, right? Like there is a person and there is a structure, and anytime when you have a person and you have a structure, that can be manipulated. They can be manipulated, the structure can be manipulated, and it can be used for nefarious reasons. I think with Bitcoin, we can't really do that because, it doesn't have that. It's like, the cryptocurrency of the people, which it kind of has a very unique, stance. And I'm very curious, where it will be. Going back to what Gary was saying, and that's, a lot of the conversations that, we were having is that I think that we have yet to see it, but I'm wondering whether at some point we are going to see ban on Bitcoin, very much like what we have seen with gold and accumulation. And I always say, history sort of repeats itself, right? Like if you are a leader, like you always want to look back at strategies, like going back to all the wars that have been, won or lost. Like strategy is strategy, right? You can take it and you can repurpose it. And so I'm wondering whether that strategy is going to come and play. And, when it comes to Putin is, the more Bitcoin he can accumulate and the more structure he can build for his people to then use that Bitcoin, I think makes him more independent. And so, it's a really, really good play, and it's a really interesting play. I'm curious to look back at it in sort of like 5 years and see, like see how it played out, right? Because like same with like El Salvador, like yes, it hasn't succeeded, but I think oftentimes like what we look at failures is like we can look back and say, oh, but based on that, we have come to all of these solutions. If we haven't failed all of these times, then we wouldn't really come up with all these better solutions. So I think failure is a natural part of building.
That's right. Because with whenever you're building anything new, it's going to take trial and error for anything like this to succeed. But as time has progressed, the technology is now, it's kind of generic to say, but it's as powerful as it's ever been, right? It's only getting stronger from here, but it's very, very powerful from where it has came in such a short period of time in all aspects of technology. So with the shift of Ethereum going to proof of stake now, just from my own perspective, things that I do have become a whole lot cheaper. So things in general that have just been concepts are now becoming realities very fast because the overhead is not there per se anymore. So not just in my own hands, I know other people have seen that same thing on other networks. So I'm gonna say that we're gonna see in the next 2 years even more rapid development than we could even expect, and this flush out of centralized finance has really pushed, I think, the decentralized side of things, where people that have been holding in their own cold wallets for all this time, and they're not really worried per se that the technology has been affected. They know that bad actors doesn't necessarily speak on behalf of the whole protocol itself. So building isn't going to stop anytime soon with crypto. So it is going to be growing pains like any kind of technology. But as long as this technology remains open source like it is, like any good open source project, it's going to keep having people come along time after time and find a need and use it and fulfill their use cases with this technology.
Yeah, it's more too than just the open source. It's I was reading who did it? Was it Jameson Lapp? He does a lot of good shit. but it might have been him. But it was called the death of email and the death of SMTP. And I use SMTP as an example often, how it's a decentralized protocol and anybody can tap into SMTP just like anybody can tap into ENS, right? Or vice versa. Anyone can tap into ENS or Chainlink or Ethereum or Solidity and Web3 just like anyone could tap into SMTP. But the problem is that anybody can't just tap into SMTP. You actually can't just create your own SMTP server anymore because the barriers to entry and get through, you know, like spam filters even makes it so impossible that your messages will never get through to the destination of the 5 gatekeepers of SMTP.
Yeah, you can just create really a local instance to where it's not really, you can do it, but it's not practical.
Yeah, or maybe server to server you could do it, but you would have a hell of a time getting it like an email from your private mail server to like a Gmail email.
Yeah. But before, you know, even like Google, when Google first came on the scene, you could have your own host instance server in-house running your own search engine, right? So, I mean, even that aspect, your own in-house exchange server, in-house search engine, in-house server of any sort is now kind of going out the window, especially any kind of premise of self-hosted SMTP just because of abuse per se, how it's been abused over time because it is worldwide. So, I mean, you see where now they're region blocking things more and more. So it's becoming a lot more restricted and centralized. It's really showing that centralized entity side of things. I even remember what was it, Arab Summer, when, you know, when people they were turning off the internet in a lot of places. So centralized even in the fact that what do, you know, when the internet's off and you're using a hotspot, and then the thing you're on, you know, you finally get some internet somehow via dial-up or whatever, you know, phone method you're doing, and then you're restricted because they've centralized even the virtual side of things. So this decentralized open source side of things is great just because in the aspect of where, you know, you're having that stranglehold even on the physical layer like we talked about earlier. What happens when that physical layer turns on you and you're kind of getting cornered per se? Where do you go? If you go back to the online virtual side of things, you would hope to have your own maybe local instance there per se of a stronger node. And I think Ethereum and Bitcoin and things like that are your way of running a stronger node that kind of links to other peers in your community that in strengthen, you know, you as a central node, but via your ecosystem, you're able to access other, you know, like you say, server to server, well, peer to peer. I think that's where we're shifting more so to is peer to peer in the sense to not just server, but nodes. And that to me is a stronger instance of just a server. It's your whole being of technology cumulative into one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a never-ending conversation because, you know, we're just like chain linking like vector attacks. And then there's like different levels and types of vectors. So now we just shifted, you know, to the node conversation. And I'm sure a lot of people would like love to chime in about that because we talked about this a couple of days ago or last week or whatever on the show, actually, where we're talking about the number of, you know, FinCEN regulated nodes and how that is, I think, at 75 or almost 75% now. And there's a lot of different attack vectors, and I know that people that are building Ethereum really care about decentralization and immutability and censorship resistance. It's a very, very difficult battle fighting for privacy and censorship resistance and privacy. Like the privacy battle is a bigger battle than, you know, the censorship resistance, even though they're both battles. But it's really, really hard to, because it's like whack-a-mole, right? Or it's like the leaking balloon or dam or whatever. There's all these different, because then it could shift into the front end user interfaces, you know, or like a vector attack, and then you have like token holders or a vector attack, and
Everything's transparent. Exactly, you're right on that aspect too.
the more transparent, the better.
You remember proxies originally, VPNs and proxies, when they really first became consumer grade, they would advertise no logs, right? Well, the joke is, I mean, everything generates a log. So it's just because you're not looking at them doesn't mean there's no logs. So I mean, that's where, you know, reality versus,
Well, when
buzzword
they say no logs, because when they say no logs, that was right. They did do that. Some people do that. Some
Yeah.
people did that. That's all right. And nowadays, when you see no logs, because there's like a couple different types of VPN companies. When I say no logs, there's the VPN companies that say they don't keep logs because it's about keeping the logs.
Yeah.
Is what it is. When there's
Retention.
no logs policy, it's about like everything creates a log, but do you keep those logs? Do you
When
store
subpoenaed,
them? Do you do
yeah.
anything? And so there's VPN companies that say we don't keep any logs, and then they get hacked, and then you find data got released that they said that they never
Tied to your
carried,
profile. Yeah. You find your name
and
tied
and
to
you're
you
and you're like,
somehow.
I thought, forget that you were hacked. I thought you guys said you didn't even keep these files. And
Yeah.
you find out, oh, they did. And then you have other companies that say they don't keep logs and they've never had a bad incident like that. And then I guess, and then some companies, I guess, can be audited.
Well, this is what I do with catch-all. Catch-all emails, of course. I'm sure you're familiar with catch-alls. What I do every time I sign up for anything, I have a catch-all system. I sign up whatever organization at, right? And if they end up selling my data, I know because I've assigned kind of like a VCC lock card. I've assigned an email. So
I do that
know.
exact same thing. That's funny.
That's how you do it. Self-hosted in that sense.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great tip for anybody listening. You have a .com name or whatever that you get email off of, and you make it so anything at yourname.com or .whatever, so you get that email no matter what they put there. And if you sign up for, if you signed up for something at ethereum.org, you make the email that you sign up with ethereum-org at yourdomain.com, and then you can see all the email that you get from that company because they're not sending it to your real email, right? They're sending it to that email. Yeah, that's a great handy little tip.
And Skiff, Skiff mail lets you do aliases too, I found. So I was liking that. Not a catch-all. I didn't see a catch-all yet, but I did even ask him. I'll give you a little alpha on what I asked him because I know you know about Exchange. So you already know how big of a thing Exchange calendars are, right? Like synchronized calendar. Well, I started doing some things with decentralized calendar, of course, for, if you hold a token of the collection, you can go to the page and make an appointment with me, etc. But I'm having to use, my own mail server, and other people use their mail. They're using Skiff mail, but I had asked Skiff, I said, hey, check this out. This is what I'm doing. Now, Skiff, do you have anything in mind for people to use via this decentralized, mail system you got going on here with people's, wallets and everything like that? Some sort of calendar functionality, invite system? They're working on it. They're actually going to release it. So, I'm thinking what's Outlook going to do? What's Microsoft going to have in store next? They're going to be like, guess what? We do crypto wallets now at Outlook. I'm like, oh, shit. They're going to change Microsoft 3065. They're going to call it. Jeez.
Yeah,
really.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Gary.
No, I was just saying really interesting. Yeah.
I always say, that's why onboarding of new people is so very important because most people don't come from this place of security. I mean, in reality, security for most people is they have terrible online hygiene. I mean, it's just, they'll use passwords that are easily guessable. They'll still keep them somewhere on Notepad or Google Google Spreadsheets or Google Docs or, for most people, it's what I always say, it's the schools don't teach you like the basic things, right? Like how to work on your resume, how to do an interview, how to work on your how to create your LinkedIn profile, like how to actually be competitive in today's workplace, right? So you graduated even from college, and it's like you have no idea of how to enter a workforce. And it's very much the same way, because now we have these whole generations of digital users, and kids that are creating these profiles very, very early. And unless they come from households like ours, where we talk about security all the time, like we tell our kids, anything that you do online stays online always. Like everything that you do is being tracked.
They probably don't care.
Well, I mean, but you hope that by showing,
they know more than the average kid. That's
they
Ingrained
have
head.
to know. They absolutely. But majority of the people, when they get onboarded into Web3, they come with the same set of terrible security hygiene. I mean, that's just how it is, and that's why so many people
not
get hacked.
Web3 terrible, Web2 terrible.
Well, yeah, because they come in with the same like slappy passwords, and then and then they get hacked, and then they're like, oh, this technology is like broken, I'm never doing this again. Because we don't have the very, very basics. And I think that people that can look and really understand like what's happening online. I mean, I've been saying it for a very, very long time. Like people always, they would complain every single time like Facebook would do an update. Everybody would just like complain about it. And it's like, you don't pay for Facebook, like you are the product of Facebook. So they can do anything. If you're running your business off of Facebook, like you don't actually own your business, because we have seen it. Like they'll change the algorithm, and all of a sudden your business is gone. And and they can do anything that they want to do, because they offer this service for free. You're not actually paying for the service. And even if you paid for service, like the data still gets used and sold, and so yes, we're fighting the security battle.
You can pay so much money that doesn't happen. Like for example, like Google Analytics, right? This is something I've not recently, but like five years ago, or 5 or 7 or 8 years ago or so, like last I looked into this. Everyone uses Google Analytics. And and it's really rough, because they use all your data. And all that data is used against you, and they give it to you. They don't even really want the money. They'll take money for the enterprise level stuff, but to get like a really good, to get a really good tool, you might have to go to something like Adobe, because Adobe purchased, I think, Omniture. Adobe has like a really good analytics product. It's like, is it like 50 grand a year, or is it 50 grand a month? I think it's 50 grand a year. So imagine like being a small company and having to pay $50,000 for analytics, for website analytics. Like, getting analytics software is really hard, let alone analytics software that doesn't sell your data like Google Analytics does. They all do that. And you got to pay like 50 grand a year to have Google Analytics. Like, I don't know if that sinks in with people, that if you want to have analytics that doesn't sell your data, where you actually own your website log data, and you're paying someone to collect it and to analyze it properly, because it's a really hard problem. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Imagine if people had to pay for everything. Imagine if you had to pay for the true value of Zoom, and the true value of Twitter, and the true value of Facebook, without, being a piece of cattle.
Yeah, people would break the bank. And just, a lot less people would be on Facebook today. Whole lot. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about the environment of blockchain. I could just go off, man. People talk about the environment of blockchain. Every fucking email you send, you're burning the earth. Every extra space, how like you write a sentence and you put a period, and then after the period you put a space, and then you
Yeah.
click enter. Like a lot of people do trailing spaces at the end of their sentences that are totally needless. Every trailing space, you're killing the earth. If people like, I don't know if this is true, but I'm willing to bet a small amount of money. If everybody in the world stopped adding trailing spaces, we would save so many trees. That's got to be a fact. So
Seems
every
legit.
Google search, you're killing trees
Every time.
because you're
Every
using servers that are polluting the earth with every Google search.
yeah, I seen the other day on the Windows 11 system. It said it was a Windows update message. It said this Windows update is carbon neutral. I said what? Carbon. I said when weren't they? I said oh no. I was like oh no. I said my carbon footprint is massive. I said this is not good. If Windows updates are that bad, I said this ain't good. I used to do Vista. You remember when they were in stages? Oh hell, there's a whole rainforest.
Yeah.
One service
Well, I mean that I think the idea is like, it's basically another it's the Christmas light argument. It's comparing blockchain energy usage to Christmas light energy
Oh, yeah.
usage. And there's
I like
a lot
the
of
one,
people that don't take their Christmas lights down all year long.
You seen the one where they said that proof of stake uses as much power as like a thumb screw head or something, like the power it takes to turn a thumb screw. I was like, what the hell? They're saying it's that small. I was like, okay. They're saying, and technically, per se is right because it's just stake, right? But the systems around it that run the little nooks and the other little mini PCs, that requires power. But if you get really, really technical, proof of stake does not require power per se. It just requires consensus, right? But what? Consensus through these electrical devices. And see, when I first got into blockchain really, really long time ago, the concept of your wallet is still there online, even if you're not. I had really had to lock in for me because there was no hot wallets at the time. Everything was cold. So I had to really lock in my mind that this piece of paper is online. This piece of paper, even though it's in my hand and my computer's off, it's still there.
Yeah,
I can
there's
still get money to it.
there's no cryptocurrency in your wallet right now.
Yeah, no.
Like people, that's like a big problem with people's thinking, is that no wallet, like wallets don't hold cryptocurrency.
It's like a position per se on
Right.
this block.
They just hold. I mean, what they really hold is like the private keys.
Yeah.
And yeah, but the actual cryptocurrency, in addition to the positions, the ledger, both because in Bitcoin there's two different. There's the ledger called Bitcoin and there's a token called Bitcoin. And Ethereum, there's a ledger called Ethereum and there's a token called Ether.
Yeah.
Both separate things. The Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ledger, they're both on the blockchain, which none of them are in your wallet. So if someone's like, how much Bitcoin is in your wallet? Technically, there's none. There's none. There's no Bitcoin in a wallet. If you destroy the wallet, you don't destroy the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Would you
It's
say
still
that like your wallet is like a treasure map? Like that's all it is? It's just like the map to get to like where the money actually is.
Or your passphrase, or
Yeah, your seed
Right?
phrase is like the map.
yeah.
And
I mean,
then
there's more. You can get more nuance than that, because not only is there, this is like kind of like geeky, but it's probably good to know for somebody in the world. Not only is there your seed phrase, which is your 12 or 13 or 24 or 25 words, right? There's also what they call a deviation path. And the think about it like this: when you have the seed phrase is the trunk of a tree. And then separate from the trunk of a tree for your unique deviation path or wallet, there's all these potential deviation paths, right? Which are the branches. And when you have the reason this is important is because when you have a Trezor or a ledger or a keep key or some random fucking wallet out there, I should only drop F-bombs on the private stream. And some random wallet out there, when they generated the wallet, their people, especially back in the day, they chose the deviation path, however they decide to choose it, and then a different wallet might do it differently. And so if you have an old wallet that where they did the deviation path one way, so when you put in the 12 words, it's this tree trunk, and it's looking on the deviation path, and there's your wallet. Now, if you load the same 12 words into a different wallet, and they happen to use a different deviation path, it's going to show that all your balances are zero, and you're going to be like, "Oh my God, where's my money?" And it's your money's like, yeah, it's on that wallet, but it's on a different branch of that tree.
Yeah, the
so
market tree.
Yeah, so it's like there's all sorts of complicated ways to make it like even more of a treasure map.
The tree trunk is a good example. I always forget that it's the Merkle tree at the root of it all. That's a good, consensus mechanism as well. I mean, it's great. The whole technology underlying. That's the thing what I love about it as well. Is you just can't really. You can argue with it all day, but like, what are you arguing against? You're just arguing against science and mathematics itself. So, and they're like, please have at it, crack it, figure it out. That's what mining is. We're trying to crack it too. So, if you can crack it faster than those GPUs, go for it.
Yeah, all sorts of like cracking and hacking and figuring things out. People just shifting from the what do you call it, the hardware to more of the software.
Yeah, and you're seeing more of that. Yeah, well, I mean, in that sense, hardware, to make hardware, you develop software and load onto your physical devices, right? It's like you're seeing more of that EVM, the virtual machine aspect of it. They're virtualizing more and more of this system, and that's how you scale it, really. I mean, even with computing technologies themselves, everything's kind of going to cloud, and cloud is just someone else's PC, and someone else's PC in these instances are just higher scaled pieces of hardware that can scale larger pieces of data, higher bandwidth, etc. Because to run that kind of overhead and to use 10 gig, how do you do it? You got to have that kind of back end of it. So I think we're seeing more of that hot wallet sense, but we need more. I'm enjoying seeing more of that blended approach of cold and hot in the multi-sig, but we can get into that one day. I haven't done any multi-sigs with Bitcoin, but I have with Ethereum, and they're fantastic. Genosis, you can use it with even a mobile wallet browser. They have that mobile wallet browser. Rainbow Wallet doesn't even have that yet. And Safe, you can use your multi-sig today and go to ENS domains and set your resolver and everything with a multi-sig and manage your domains right now. So
yeah,
security is real.
Yeah, and there's great things about the Gnosis multi-sig. I also hear that there are some limitations that people need to be aware of. Not prepared or to know all those and go over those, but I know there are some limitations that and so there's always room for improvement, especially at these super early stages. So we're probably going to be wrapping up here soon, but before we do, just one last thing I just wanted to go over. So is this you, and is this cool to talk about?
Oh yeah,
and
that right there, that's the beta collection, of course. So that's day one.
Yeah, so I have 4 things. This is not where I want to be, right?
I mean, that's fine. We can of course start with there, and if you want to go from there to just pick one of them there, and then you can go to like the creator of it per se. And I can
tell me what are these 4? What, because I break it down for me. What am I looking at?
So I mean, that one right there, the one you see, of course, changing around at the very bottom left. That's the beta. That was very first day one. We got everybody in. We had everybody use the site builder and the WYSIWYG. When's the last time you heard WYSIWYG, right?
Yeah.
Just drag and drop site builder tool, and that was where we had beta testing on a lot of different platforms and whatnot. And then from there, we went into to the next piece, which was the public pass, which was the beta public pass. So
that's this one. With the sun.
So we released it out to the general public for people to test on all platforms and do what they need. And then from there, I've started to do airdrops, and that's what you see is global chat and the logo generator. Global Chat has the hidden content that shows you how to actually make your own chat room on an ENS domain, a decentralized chat room, and you get to make it. You can do peer-to-peer chat via text, voice, video, however. And there's a video guide and the code, all forkable easily, couple clicks. And then the logo generator tool lets you in. For a while, I had a thread going that I was making people their own banners and logos and stuff for them for the .e. How was I doing it so fast? I had a tool for it. So I just airdropped everybody the tool, and I said, all right, well, it looks like y'all like the logos it makes. Here's the tool to make your own, to make it endlessly, right? So I gave all that out, and then from there, that's all been beta per se. And from there, I've done the. So if you go to see if you can find my profile from there, it should be able to show me as like the creator of it. You probably click on one of them, and then oh, here, I'll show you how you can do it. Yeah, there I am at the very top. Yeah, I got the punk on there. Yeah, you can just mint anything, by the way. But look, go to the created tab there, and then it might not be in the. I use the deployer wallet, so go to my collected. That should have them in the collected there, because I've done it to where we're on memenft.com now, but you'll be able to see the pass here. Yeah, no, let's scroll down just a little bit on there. Keep on going. Keep it going. There it is. You see that guy spinning right there? Yeah.
This one.
The silver passes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are what we're using completely off of OpenSea's contract completely. This is all completely owned by a multi-sig itself, and I'm branching this out to be a DAO of its own. Heaven's Tools DAO, its own self, to where any of the tools that I make and generate and continue to make in the long run, we have other people, creating these things with us and partnering with us and so on, to focus the energy, because I could just make.
Is this the max supply? 4,270?
Yeah, it's 4269. I didn't want to create the number, right? Some degens told me to make that number. It's because we're on Meme NFT, but everything starts with a zero. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's 4270. Yeah, I told them. I said, look, you can't. They're like, oh, come on, type it in. I was like, no. We'll get into that another day. But that's another partnership I got going on with memenft.com. They, it's just like OpenSea, but everything you own everything on it, as far as it's just a smart contract marketplace. But yeah, just you see it's right there on the pass, of course, spinning there itself. But memenft.com is the site itself where we have it as a launch pad for you're able to mint your own NFTs right off of it for free, and you can own and host them on any platform. When you do it through OpenSea, you're restricted to only them, and that's not really true ownership.
Who's this guy?
Which one's that there? Is that you right there?
Who's A4 AF?
Oh, that's the deployer wallet.
All right, the deployer wallet has like all of them still.
Yeah, no, well, that's from the new collection. That's not
Yeah.
from the beta collection. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm checking out here. I'm checking out this floor. You're saying they're all minted out.
no, well,
Right,
I've mentioned them out, but I've got them hosted. Go to memenft.com. Well, actually, go to my Twitter real quick. I got the link in my bio.
Yeah, where's the link from here? Yeah, link from here.
I mean, I'm not selling them on OpenSea is the thing. That's what I'm saying. There might be one
yeah,
listed.
but you can make usually there's like a link to the website.
Well, see, OpenSea itself, we're not even using OpenSea for anything. OpenSea is there for the beta.
Like see right here.
Yeah.
It has I know it goes to your Twitter, but
yeah, that's just OpenSea. Yeah, go to it right there. We're doing everything just, then look, go to heavenstools.eth right there. It'll take you straight to where it's actually for sale.
Gotcha. Redirect.
Yeah. So it's just grassroots. It's all hosted on our own platform, our own smart contract, not only for the past, but our own smart contract for a marketplace too. We own it all 1-to-1. Oh yeah. It's pretty nice,
okay,
right?
Cool. So yes, now this is all being sold here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I go to Gem, does Gem pull this in?
I'm not sure. I haven't even checked to see if they're on any kind of, sweeping style marketplace, but I want to say they are. I've seen it to where I could list them through Gem, so I assume so. Yeah. They're hanging out on Gem. Oh, for OpenSea, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't pull in the other marketplaces.
Of course. And see, that's, we're doing some other things in our own marketplace for that sense, because we don't really, it's just a simple marketplace in that sense. We got a lot of things in this sense. This is where we're actually having the token gated utility collection. I mean, you've seen the different interactive NFTs and things I've, created over time, like the calculator and then Doom and Pac-Man all in the NFT. This is where, you actually be able to collect these tokens for $0. We're going to host them for free. But if you have a pass, see, that's the thing. You have one of these passes, you connect to the site, you see how you're seeing this collection. Well, there's going to be other collections via that .eth link, I mean, you've of course seen the newest .eth site, the ENS redirect.
Who owns this website?
Which site?
Who owns this memenft.com?
It's a conglomerate. We're all there's a few different partners in it.
Are you in the conglomerate?
Yeah, I'm the CTO of it right now.
Gotcha. So this is the right website? This is like a scam site?
No, that's me right there. We got the verified badge on the collection and everything. It all links.
Well, but I mean, what's that mean? Because if I was a scammer, I could just scam the website and I could also have a badge.
Well, I mean, that went straight from my .eth.
Yeah.
HeavensTools.eth.
That's true. Yeah,
the only way you can get to this. That's the thing. OpenSea has a ton of fake collections of mine up right now, a ton of them. So that's the thing. There's just so many of them right now on OpenSea. OpenSea hasn't helped me at all to drop any of the fake collections, and they don't. I can't even take a snapshot accurately because they own the collection. There's 1,000 other tokens in that contract. So OpenSea's rugged the hell out of me time after time. There is 20E volume on the collection, yeah, but that's OpenSea hasn't helped me to actually verify. Even though we've done 20E through the beta collection, there's still 6 other Polygon collections that they still haven't taken down. They haven't found this one. I've minted all of these myself and distribute them out. See, this is just funding for the project overall. We're not hurting for funding at all. We've deployed our own Pinata IPFS network for the different members and whatnot. There's a lot, internally that we're developing as far as, concept. This is just.
So is this different than these other ones?
Everyone that's had a pass has been airdropped the silver pass 1-to-1. Everyone that's been a beta holder has got a silver pass airdrop.
Oh, so
you should have one. You should have one of the silver passes right now. Because anyone that has one of those public passes gets airdropped the silver pass just automatically.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Okay. So the Heavens Tools logo generator allows us to use this one tool.
Yeah, look at the description there. I mean, it's just there's just a description of what it is. It's just one of the
exclusive avatar creator for
Yeah.
And then this is the global P2P website tool for text, voice, and video.
Yes, the guide and the tool with the forkable code and everything like that.
There's only 1,000 of these.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
there's only 333 of these.
Yeah, because we're making them 1-to-1 for every, pass that has been created, the beta pass. But just in general, there's been so many people that have needed them. We've just been giving out copies of just the extra global chat itself, just for people that just build the one-of-one tool.
And Dylan, I think I've seen you post some videos on Twitter, or were they somewhere else? I've seen some videos of you doing a walkthrough.
I do them on, I post them on, see, once I make the video, just I'm able to post it everywhere. So I upload it to YouTube and then cross-post it to Twitter, if they allow me. I try to keep them under 10 minutes because that's Twitter's limit. But if it's like 19, 20 minutes, I'll upload the full clip to YouTube and then split it 1 and 2 piece on Twitter and just link it at the bottom.
Beautiful. And can I confirm your YouTube is?
Alpha Time, all one word.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's what I was going through, back in December last year. That was my thing, Alpha Time. I still got the Alpha Time website. It's still live today. It's my pinned video. AlphaTime.e. That was my thing. Yeah, they're in your hidden thing. You see?
Yeah,
See, I do my
yeah. So I
airdrops.
got the
do my
global
due
chat
diligence.
one, and I got the Heavens Tools one.
Yeah. Hell yeah. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? You don't have to, it's all automatic. You see how smooth this is? And it's crazy. I'm able to do this on a scale of like 270 members. It makes me so bullish because so many people are ready to build. So I'm just like every day, you know what I mean? If I ever don't feel like building for a minute, I'm like, you know what? There's 270 damn DGens that need a tool, man. And I just keep making things. So look in your hidden folder, Gary. I keep sending you stuff. Keep sending them wrenches and hammers in the mail. You ain't looking in the box. That's what I'm saying. I was hoping with this thing they wouldn't be hidden no more. They weren't. I don't know why they do that to me.
Yeah, and for me, it's like rough because it's like the hidden folder. It's like I don't know what the hell's in there because I don't know if someone's trying to scam me, send me something that's like.
That's why we're getting more transparency with the site. You see like on the pass itself spinning. I got my name on the back right there, right, and then I got HTTPS on the little banner on the bottom. Heavens Tools Pass on the top. Yeah. I can't do much more, Gary. Work with me, Gary. Look at this thing. Yeah, that's 20 megabytes right there. You know how much IPFS that costs? It's 4,220 megabyte files.
Well, listen, there's a little bit more you could do.
Yeah.
Oh, and what the bare minimum is for me, like if I was going to use OpenSea.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bare minimum is that I want to see the button here. So I click the button and it takes me right to your website.
Yeah. The back end, back to the site. I got you.
Yeah. And then when I click on About Heavens Tools, it should be, I want to see a link to the Twitter, a link to the website, a link to whatever you got. Maybe you got a Discord. If you don't, you don't. If you do, there should be a link, right? Because that is what it adds a legitimacy to the website for this particular, at NFT level.
Yeah. If there was another Dylan to help me out.
Check this out. When I hover over this tool right here, it says
I made 270 owners right there.
The image is broken.
We got a lot of buddies to take care of real quick. Once I get some of them buddies all square, you wouldn't believe my meeting schedule for the week.
Yeah.
I'm going to get them buddies taken care of, and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to start getting some more in. But right now, I got enough. I ain't trying to keep nobody out. That's the thing. I never want to, turn anybody away. But if they want to get in, it's going to take a little work. They're going to have to show me. They're going to be like, look, man, I came all the way here and found your pass. And they do. Trust me, Gary. They find the pass, and they make an appointment.
Man. Well, people are excited to build, and they want, like, some people don't like me saying it, but they want like a WordPress for Web3.
Yeah, they need it. I mean,
they want to make it easy. We got to help people. I mean, I would love to see this like in the hands of more like whatever Web3 students and Web3 builders and people that are going to make, find someone like, I want someone that's going to create a business making websites for people. It's good that there's people doing it for free, but people got to eat.
Yeah.
And not everybody wants to make their own website. So teach people to make Web3 sites. They can go charge a couple $100. They can make IPFS sites for people. They could use your tools to get it done. And, we can help push forward this idea of a Web3 economy.
That's right. Not everybody's going to sell their name per se. Some of these names are their names, their business, their brand. What do you do when you finally do get your name from the other person or whatever, right? Or how do you actually incentivize the other end to even want to buy their name or whatever you got? This adds merit to ENS as a whole. Not only, I mean, I hate ever referring to it as my bag per se, but if you look at my domains, if I don't build anything with them, there's no point to them because they're technical for the most part. No one's named userdatabase.eth, So if we just use them as usernames, that's one thing. But if you plan to build or see the, ability there, this hosting through IPFS and these different platforms for onboarding, like Fleek, giving you free SSL, free HTTPS, that's huge. I've seen the overhead costs just from my own knowledge of deployments that I know would cost probably on average at least $100 to do just an average long-term style deployment of any sort of site. I'm able to do it for $2 or $3, and I'm able to show that to another individual that's hosting just a static page for consultation or just as a presence or any sort of status. for $4 or $5, they're able to run their identity consistently and never be rugged in that sense. All of a sudden, all of that money goes right back into them. And that's how you see people grow, is when overhead gets eliminated. When what do you say, not just the door opens up, but what would be the best way to even say, like, if you're not only incentivized almost to come on board, you're going to get a lot, attract flies with honey per se, right? What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, you're being paid. You're basically being paid to move into the city. It's
Yeah.
like, not only are you saying, hey, rent is free, but
It's a nice
it's like,
place.
and it's a nice place, and here's some cash, and here's everything you need.
Build something, right? Now keep going, right? Or pass it on to your next man. There's so much that's ready, and that's what I see a lot of people do. They'll get into this ecosystem, and they can afford all of a sudden or they'll feel empowered to give back. So not only give back in monetary or giveaways, but in time and resources and knowledge of their own skills. So I've learned a lot being in this space, and I've passed that on to others. When I do these one-on-one meetings, I learned ways that I could then make tools to help these people that could help another 100 of these same style of individuals. But you'll never know that these subsets of needs even exist until you have a discussion with somebody from that niche per se.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool. Yeah. Now it's just, getting it done, getting more done, getting feedback, making it better, getting the right product in front of the right audience. And yeah, you're doing it exactly right. You're empowering people. And it's, really awesome to, be connected with and know people like you who are building and who are helping and who are connecting and who are empowering. And especially at these really, really early days, it's like, some silly little thing could be $1 billion app or $1 billion game, or a $1 billion protocol. And we just don't know what small decisions are going to have huge effects, right? Like we were talking earlier, it's like there's lots of people in every single time movie ever created where people are always worried about going into the past and making some small change, and that some small change is going to dramatically change the future, right? Oh my God. And no one ever stops to realize, well, maybe if we make a small change today, that small change today in the present is going to dramatically change the future. And so that's why it's cool not just making consistent small changes, but then also throwing in some big splashes in there. And from my professional opinion, that's something that Heaven, all the Heavens tools have been doing. And that's something that you've been doing. And I can't imagine the space without you, Dylan. So thank you.
Well, I remember, whenever you was first hopping in these spaces, day one, talking about the digits before there was even a digit run, right? Now you got a hat with them on.
Yeah.
Never would have guessed. But you was talking about, you saying, right, ENS encompasses everything. We've been discussing, right, about how it's all encompassing, even in that aspect of where there's always NFTs, but every NFT has a token number assigned to them. And that's ENS. ENS is that number per se, or can be. So there's a lot more to it. And what's behind that is the people. So you've seen that with people register these digits now. Okay. And that's the thing. That's the thing about ENS. Minting, registrations, etc. It happens with, there's not really automated in that sense. Even if it's automated in a mass mint, someone triggers it. So there's a lot of reality within the blockchain that can be tapped into if you really look for it. So
yeah,
there's a lot of
it's all happening.
Yeah,
it's all
so
happening.
Monetary influence or that comes from it of any sort, that's just after effects if you're truly doing something that's needed. That's how Bitcoin went from 20 cents to $69,000 because someone needed it, and it continues to use it, and here we are today. So
yeah, and here we are today.
Yeah,
live streaming on Minting Coins.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Satoshi, Dylan, yeah,
Vista long gone.
Windows ME. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for hanging with us. Any closing words, or where can people find you or learn more about? I know we just went over like a bunch of other stuff.
This thing.
Twitter. Find you
Test-
on Twitter.
Testaccount.eth. Type it in there.
Testaccount.eth. Yeah.
I'm sure you'll find me somewhere, somehow. I'm
And you
backlinked like
you
hell.
prefer
to the deal.
Satoshi or Dylan?
Martha. Nah.
Shirley.
You can call me Dylan.
Shirley. Not late for dinner.
Yeah. Jeanette.
Cool. 1A4. Thanks for like coming on out. It's burning the midnight oil.
No, thanks. Great space and great to be with you all.
Hell yeah.
And Ada.eth.
Meet everybody. I see y'all all the time around. We gotta do these more often. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Satoshi, just so you know, like we're aiming doing these like 5 nights a week, just hanging out for a couple hours, chilling with people, making, connections and friendships and community with colleagues. And, you know what I'm saying? Any day you want to jump on and just talk about the news and just shoot the breeze like we did today, be careful about Wednesdays, because sometimes those are full of whiskey. So
I gotta remember. I'll get the bourbon one day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll bring the shots. I got so many. I do have some appointments booked this week, but once I get through some of them, I'll try to set some time or days to not do them. And I'll say, look, everybody, y'all need to come. I know we like meeting, but come to the big meeting. We'll get like a big, town square style. Have people do their chat, pop them up here on the stage. It'd be great.
No, absolutely. With Whiskey Wednesdays, we do a show.
Yeah.
And then we do the after show.
All right.
Which is private, say anything, not censored, not for YouTube, just for the subscribers and the members of the Minting Coin.
So become a member.
Yeah.
For everyone watching, become a member so you can watch those members only videos where we get to say and do whatever we want. And they're private videos, not on YouTube. It's just uncensored. We can go a lot deeper on things and say things that we shouldn't say out loud. And we say them out loud, but just for the members. And Whiskey Wednesdays are a lot of fun.
Last Wednesday was a banger, an absolute banger. A pre-Thanksgiving banger.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So, I mean, we went from like, getting visible on Twitter, just like posting into like the ether, to making connections with people on Twitter Spaces. And, for me, like connecting with people repeatedly and just like, or for the first time, or just like having the visual component, it really gets into, closer connection, like, I don't know if I should dare to say like friendship territory. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's like something. It's like a step more, just to connect with people on that level. And so it's been a real joy for me. And so I just thank every single person who's come on the show. So it's been wonderful. So Dylan, come back whenever you want.
Great host. Thanks for hosting, man. I mean, you can't do it without having a host. Do it. You know what I mean? So great on you for setting it up.
I ramble. Yeah. These are normally 2 hours and they go 2.5 hours. And today I'm like, I'm going to make it an hour and a half. And I'm 20 minutes past that time. So with that being said, it's been great hanging out. I'm Gary Palmer Jr.eth. Like this video, subscribe, become a member, follow everybody on Twitter. Everyone should be in the show notes below, or they will be. And until next time, we are minting coins.